to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, servicemen and women, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Councilor Spatafora.
I would also like to offer another moment of silence. Mr. Robert Cataldo was originally a member of a resident of the city of Malden. Him and his wife owned Cataldo Ambulance. He passed away after a sudden illness Sunday. Those who knew him was Mr. Bobby Cataldo. I know the public service and safety people in the city of Malden know the family well. They've always donated to our charitable events. They've done tremendous work with the fire department in terms of training and taking some of the city's cost. He was a fixture in the Malden community and will be sorely missed, so please indulge me in another moment of silence for Mr. Bobby Cataldo. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
The clerk will call the roll. No. Nope.
Councilor Anderson. Councilor Kamel. Here. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor DiMaria. Here. Councilor Matheson. Here. Councilor Murphy. Here. Councilor O'Malley. He's here, right?
No.
Councilor Spatafora. Here. Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Sika.
Here. Under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you in attendance, please be informed that MATV is recording tonight's meeting. Just be aware there will be audio and video recording of this meeting. First order of business.
Chris Webb, Director of the Board of Health, will appear before the council to update the council on regulations of vaping products in Malden convenience stores.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for having us. You see I dropped some information on your individual spots for the latest statistics we have on vaping. I'm not a subject matter expert, but I brought two with me. So I'm going to let you speak to DJ Wilson, who is also a member of the board, but an attorney who works in this field daily, and Maureen Busby, who I think most of you have met before, who is our enforcement officer for these issues, and she's working daily in the region, which is our abutting communities, on this topic, and she can give you a little more breadth of what's going on out there, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is DJ Wilson. I'm the Tobacco Control Director at Mass Municipal Association, as well as being a member of the Board of Health here in Malden. So I've been working in this job almost 25 years at MMA, and it started out working on tobacco issues, and the tobacco industry has been very nimble about getting the next generation hooked on nicotine. So when we worked very hard to get the cigarette smoking rates down. They came out with flavored cigars. We started a campaign to fight that, and then we started seeing e-cigarettes. The first e-cigarettes about 10 years ago cost about $100. They weren't very kid-friendly, but it was another way of nicotine addiction that we started fighting. And then a couple of years ago, we started seeing on the market Juul. I actually have one here if you don't know what a Juul is. Juul is a brand of e-cigarette that has been very efficient in its design and strength to hook a lot of kids. This is a Juul. This is the pod that I just flipped down on the ground. This pod, by Juul's own website, represents the nicotine that's in a pack of cigarettes. So if you see these on the street, they are oftentimes thrown just on the curb. But this is a pack of cigarettes. This is a plain one. Green is mint, and they are supposed to, according to an agreement with the FDA commissioner, to stop selling cucumber, Mango, and a couple others in stores. So the way this works, so the great part about it is very smart design. Uses nicotine salts, which goes through the brain-blood barrier really quickly, so you get that kind of high that new smokers get. You'll see people walking around town like this, and it looks like they're coughing into the hand. They're actually using a Juul. They minimize the amount of vapor that comes off of them compared to what are called mods, those big things that look the size of an iPhone. And so, and lastly, parents don't know what the hell this is. And in fact, what happens a lot of times, kids will go into a library and borrow the school computer, not to do work on it, but actually to power up their Juul. So you'll find a lot of times that kids will you'll share the actual device, the body of this is the battery, and carry around their own pods. And so this, we are now at the lowest smoking rate that we've had in high school since we've started this program, 6 to 7% smoking rate in high schools these days in Massachusetts. We started at 25%. We're back to 25% because of vaping. And so the difficulty with this is that kids do use it right in the classroom, they blow it into their arm, down their shirt, any vapor that comes out. And the problem is, while that sounded cute 6 months ago, the problem now is that's highly addicted kids that can't get through an hour class assignment without taking in some nicotine. So we've been working hard to deal with this, and one of the ways that we've dealt with this, one of the many ways, is that we have expanded Malden's regulation to include, to treat these e-cigarettes just like tobacco products. We limit the flavors. We have 145 cities and towns that limit the flavored products to adult-only retail tobacco stores. And what we have seen since October, when the FDA commissioner came out and called this and specifically spoke about Juul causing this epidemic among kids, we've also had the U.S. Surgeon General and the CDC all come out and say this is an epidemic. Because of that, for the first time in a long time, I've had MMA members, to which you all are, come out forward and come to us asking for help because they are being, their superintendents and principal are coming to them and saying, I have a drawer full of Juuls, I have a bunch of kids doing this, the bathroom smells like mango or cucumber, and it's all kids using Juuls. So we have, for the first time, coming from this grassroots from MMA, from local membership, asking what to do next. So we do have some cities and towns moving on to the next generation of how to control this. Control where they are sold, how they are sold, to really clamp down on this next generation of nicotine addiction. So Maureen Busby is the Tobacco Control Director who represents the City of Malden, and she'll explain what's been happening here in the city.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes, just, sir, before you sit down, can you come a little closer with that Juul?
I was going to pass it around.
Yeah, hey. Can I see it?
Yes, here's a package.
Wow. I was,
I should also say, Maureen will be able to actually do a better job of telling you what this costs. What do you see locally?
I'm not sure about that.
I was at my boat club today doing some volunteer work, and we were cleaning up around the place, and we saw this what looks like the little electrode that was inside on the ground, and we're trying to figure out, we're a bunch of old guys, what do we know about that sort of thing? And looks like that's what it is that,
Yep.
that they were.
That's the new cigarette butt.
No, that was,
Instead of seeing a cigarette butt in the trash, you'll be seeing,
that's what these were,
Yep.
yes, yes.
And
Those are the
one last
pods
comment on
that
the
has the
Juul, then I'll let her
nicotine in it.
take
You
over,
take the little
is that we are
green
now
thing off
seeing
and
more and
stick it
more
into
that
that.
copycat companies are making THC pods to fit into Juul.
So where are they sold?
these products are sold in gas station mini marts, convenience stores, corner stores, and also the adult-only stores, vape shops, tobacco stores. And as DJ mentioned, Malden, among other communities, does have a very specific regulation around flavored products, because we learned that our kids were very attracted to creme brulee and fruit medley and all these other mango, whatever, all these other products, flavored products that were available. So Malden, along with some other communities a couple of years ago, actually adopted, the Malden Board of Health adopted a regulation that restricts the sale of flavored products to adult-only stores. So we were hoping that that would help keep these flavored products out of the hands of kids. Unfortunately, the flavor restriction did not include mint and menthol. Mint and menthol are exceptions, so you will see mint and menthol flavored chewing tobacco, little cigars, and especially these Juul products. And that's because we followed the definition that was available to us. It had been court tested, and it made sense at the time. What we found out in the last actually several months is kids very easily and very quickly adapted to the mint or menthol. And so when you're looking in the, and you're walking along the street and you see gutter trash or whatever, you'll see mostly green, little green plastic ones. The red ones would be fruit medley, orange would be mango, whatever. But in my towns that I work in where we have the flavor restriction, all I see are the green ones because kids very quickly move to mint and menthol, and they don't seem to mind that there isn't flavor anymore. They're using these products. School administrators are telling me that while we have data, YRBS data from 2017, and we only do that youth risk behaviors survey every couple of years. So 2017, we saw rates around here of, maybe 20% of kids who were vaping, but administrators are telling me it's 40, it's 50 or more, and worse, that it's moved into our middle school. I've been on this job I've been doing tobacco prevention program work for 8 years. I've had more complaints in December and January to now about people calling, parents calling, saying they found a receipt that their child bought a vape product. Somebody whose son took an Uber to the next town because there wasn't a vape shop in his town, so he went to the next town where there was one. Calls like that. A therapist calling me to tell me that one of her clients told her that her children are getting underage children are getting vape products in such and such a store. More complaint calls in the last 2-3 months than I had in the previous 7 years. And we've done some targeted, normally when I do a compliance check, I take a trained youth with me and I send a youth into every store that has a tobacco permit. We just go store to store to store. When I first started in Malden, the compliance rates were not good. But with a lot of education of our retailers, with a lot of visits, letting them know we're out and about and we're checking, the compliance rates got better and better and better. And so I think in 2018, 4 out of, I think at the time you probably had about 64 stores with permits, 4 stores sold. We'd like it to be 0, but 4 is not bad for the number of stores you have here. But now I'm getting more and more complaints, and so what I did recently was I did targeted compliance checks. I took a trained youth and I went to 9 stores in 4 of the communities that I work in, and 4 of those stores sold. So that's a very high non-compliant rate. And we've had some stores that it was a second sale to a minor, so they got not just a fine, but they got a permit suspension. We hope that that's going to help stores realize that this is a big consequence to them if they do sell to a minor, especially if it's a vape shop, a tobacco store. That's the only product they have. If they get a tobacco suspension, it closes down their store. So, so anyway, we're doing a lot of, I'd like to do more enforcement. My grant, I'm paid by a state grant. It only allows me to do a couple of year. I'd like to be able to do more because right now I think we need to do more enforcement. I've also done a lot of work in the local schools. I've done at least a couple of parent meetings, and I was very happy at the parent meetings to see the mayor, Mayor Christensen was there, chief of police, someone with the fire department, Board of Health members, lots of key leaders of your city, and it was very good to see them at a parents' meeting at a local high school. I've also done 4 faculty workshops at the high school, and the last professional development day workshop that I did, all of the nurses from all the school district-wide came to the presentation. And I was happy about that. The sad news is they all want to know, what do we do about the kids who are already vaping, who are addicted? Because the addiction is very, very hard to quit. Medical people will tell you that a nicotine addiction is as bad, if not worse, than alcohol, cocaine, heroin. It's a really tough addiction to quit. Adult smokers have a hard time. This is a new product, as DJ mentioned, very high nicotine concentrations, not only getting nicotine, but the other chemicals they add to it. Metal fragments, because this is a metal device, you heat it up, some metal particles come off, you're inhaling that into your lungs. It's not a water base. It used to be, and that's where we got water vapor, and parents would say to me, it's just water vapor. It's not, it's an oil base, so you're heating oil, drawing that into your lungs. There are some medical conditions that we're starting to see and worry about popcorn lung, COPD, and so on. But the sad news is we don't have any tested programs. We don't have any proven programs for our young people to do cessation, even if they were motivated, and many aren't. They like the buzz that they get from these products, and they don't intend to quit. So it's a huge issue. We're glad to have an opportunity to speak to you tonight, and I could go on about this topic for probably the next 3 hours. We don't have that much time, so I'll just see if you have any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could just, would you tell, who's manufacturing this? I mean, obviously the tobacco industry.
Yeah, lots of
Let me
different
just say this,
companies.
the tobacco industry was obviously being pushed by the growers of tobacco.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Who's the manufacturer?
you're onto something. So lots of different manufacturers. The early versions I saw came from, outside of this country. India, China, Bangladesh, wherever. And then the Americans, caught on to it, that this is a product that could sell, there's a market, and the American makers started making these products. And the big tobacco companies all have a version of this, what DJ showed you. But the biggest marketer and the most successful marketer is a company called Juul Labs. They're out in California, started by a couple of very bright MBAs. They do a great job with marketing. You might not see their ads, but our young people all see their ads. They do a great job on social media. They do celebrity advertising. They have probably over 70% of the vaping market right now. And as if they weren't doing well enough on their own, $1 billion in sales, as if they weren't doing well enough on their own, last fall, Altria, one of our big tobacco companies, bought a 35% share in Juul, so now they've got even more money behind them so they can push this product even more, get more people addicted to it.
Well, thank you very much for bringing this information on.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
They do escape, for those of us old enough to remember cigarette commercials on television, they do escape that ban on TV, print, and radio ads because they are not a tobacco company, so they're not subjected to those rules. So they do actually have advertisements for e-cigarettes. It's just generally on cable networks that you may not watch, that are very kid-friendly.
YouTube, a lot of things like that. The product is not regulated, the packaging is not regulated, the labeling is not regulated. It can say anything it wants, but we don't really know what's in them. Some products do say they have zero nicotine, and you may hear that from family members or whatever, but 99% of the products do have nicotine regardless of what the product labeling says.
Thank you.
Councilor Di Maria.
Thank you, Madam President. And I do want to thank Director Webb for coming in with my invitation, and Maureen and DJ. This was brought to my attention by the Superintendent of Schools, and the concerns that he has, that they are reaching 5th and 6th grade middle school level. And so I have a couple of questions. So I think, Maureen, you said there are 64 stores in Malden that...
It's actually gone, when I did that check that I was talking about some years ago, I think at one time you had 66, but that has shrunk a little bit. It's
57 stores that sell vaping. Okay.
They have a tobacco sales permit.
So some of them
Allows them to.
But they're not
Some
tobacco, you
cigarettes.
just said.
Well, some might sell, we require people who sell, we change the definition so that even though it doesn't have tobacco in it, it's included under our tobacco regulations. So we consider vape products tobacco even though they don't have tobacco in them. We changed the definition to include vape products of all kinds so that we could inspect the stores, so that we could require a permit, so that we could do compliance checks. So that change was made here in Malden probably 5 years ago or something, before it really exploded, but very early on we saw it as an issue and wanted to be able to regulate it. So the definition got changed. And then just in this past year, the state legislature passed a state law There were several parts to it, but mainly three things. Banning sales in pharmacies.
Maureen, excuse me, could you speak into the
Oh,
micro? I'm
sorry.
sorry.
Yep. The
It's because
state-
it's being taped,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
that's
good
right.
for everyone to hear.
Sorry.
Yep.
The banning sales of tobacco, meaning nicotine products also in pharmacies. Malden had done that several years ago. Making the legal age to buy tobacco products, including vape products, 21. Again, Malden did that several years ago. And making vaping equal to smoking. Massachusetts has a great smoke-free workplace law, but it didn't cover vaping, although, again, Malden did it earlier than the state did it, but effective December 31st. That's also true statewide. You can't vape anywhere you can't smoke. And you're right about the I'm hearing a lot about middle schools and younger kids getting their hands on these. And I know we have some students here from the high school, and they actually spoke at one of the parent meetings I was at, and they talked about the issues with the bathrooms in the schools. And I know in many of our schools, the nickname for the school bathroom is the Jewel Room or the Jewel Lounge, because that's where kids go to Jewel. And some kids are not using the bathrooms during the school day. They wait until after they get out of school
Oh, my
to use the
gosh.
bathroom because they don't want to go into a bathroom. And there's no accessibility. There are no stalls available if kids, so Malden High School has, my understanding is, has hired an extra monitor to go around, and
Yep.
it's too bad we have to do that, but people are working really hard to try to address this issue, and I know a number of informational pieces have gone out and have been posted on the website trying to educate parents so that they don't believe that this is a harm-free or less harmful product, and that's what Juul and other companies would have us believe, but it is a harmful product.
So I'm, excuse me for being so naive, but when you're smoking and there's a smoke alarm, it's a sensor. Is there something that we can include? I mean, you're saying it's not steam, so
Right.
it's oil.
Correct. So
Okay.
it produces a vapor or an aerosol, and so there are new detectors out there. They cost about $1,000 each, and they do detect vapor, and then when it's detected, it goes to an administrator's cell phone and gives them a text message that's happening. So we have some cities and towns that have done that. It's an expensive proposition to do. And then, one of the problems I think that our administrators and principals have is when they walk into the girl or boys room, and there's 4 of them there, it's hard to know who was participating and who wasn't. So it is a constant whack-a-mole, which is not unlike smoking in the boys' room in the 70s and the 80s. But so they are trying their best to work through this.
So is it made of metal? Is that what
I've not seen.
is it metal?
Oh,
is
that
that what it
device?
is?
Yes.
So if you go through a metal detector, is that going to beep?
Yes.
So, okay, so that's another thing we could
Yeah.
think about. Okay, so, and where, if there are parents that are watching tonight and they are concerned and have questions, where can they reach out to?
A couple places they can go would be Truth Initiative, which is a national entity that has they've just begun a text-based cessation program for teenagers because teenagers will not pick up the phone and talk to you. Our Quit line does do telephonic counseling. I did hear from a Hull principal at the high school. She decided that if they got an in-school suspension, they could negate that if they sat with a guidance counselor, went on the Quit line, signed up, and the two of them went through a initial counseling period. So that was one way to coax a kid into a quit attempt. And then Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, as well as, what's our state's website?
Getoutrage.org. There is some good information on there for schools, for parents, so getoutrage.org.
And the Health Department website, there's a video of an interview done with MOA and Maureen that's very well done, even if I do say myself. So it's up today. People should watch that.
Yeah, well, I know I speak for everybody. Whatever we can do as a council, it's really bad. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you all very much. Ms. Busby, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Webb, I appreciate you coming and giving us this presentation. When I was a kid, we had candy cigarettes. Remember those? I mean, they marketed directly at kids, using the vehicle that kids use. So, and I know the FDA have been following this a little bit. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration is taking this problem very, very seriously because the problem has really exploded now. And it's everywhere, and it's time for all of us to get abreast of what's going on. And I think Juul even voluntarily took some of those flavors off the market to stave off the FDA intervention. My question is, I know cigarettes are full of carcinogens. We know ultimately it's going to cause cancer later in your life. I've seen many people pay the price later in life. Do we know whether or not I assume there's less because it's not all this processed tobacco, but we know that there's some harmful effects. Do we know if there's any carcinogens? I know there's no long-term studies, no double-blind, peer-reviewed stuff yet, but do we know about this?
So there are some studies out there, I think, but it is inconclusive. Part of the problem is because there's no federal oversight. You could have two devices, and they have different kind of solutions. They're made out of different metals. It's just, there's nothing similar. You know, one Oreo is like the next Oreo because of federal oversight, and it's not true for this. So some of the problems are liquids that sit on their own or flavorings that sit on their own are okay. It's one thing to eat a Pringle. It may not be the same thing to heat that Pringle up to a burning and then inhale it. Right. So that's one of the problems that happens, is that some of these flavorings, like cocoa's okay until you burn it, and then burning cocoa is bad for you.
Well, like a Pringle, you can't have just one, right?
That's right.
You have it.
So, and I can't. So those are the couple of the problems. So it's this heating up to a high temperature that's causing some of the difficulties, and that heats up, really fast. So that's one of the big difficulties that we have. And as you've seen occasionally in the news, the batteries explode in people's pants and their face, and that's usually true of what's called mods. Those are those big tanks that have a big battery. Right. But again, kids aren't that interested in that because they can't hide it like a Juul.
Discreet. So I know we're ahead of the curve, I think, compared to a lot of municipalities with the higher age and the monitoring and the reduced number of licenses for tobacco sales. Anything else we can be doing at this point?
The Board of Health is entertaining a new policy. So back in December, the Somerville Board of Health did two things. They unexempted that menthol and wintergreen, and they also decided to make e-cigarette sales only happen in qualifying adult-only retail tobacco stores. And so the Board of Health here, we are looking at that second version, just that second one. And of course, not surprisingly, the tobacco industry is suing Somerville on this latest amendment.
All right. Well, thanks for the education. Appreciate it again.
Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President, and I appreciate this. It's very insightful. I wish I could say I'm learning, but unfortunately, my wife is a nurse in this community in a middle school, and I didn't know nothing about this until probably a month and a half ago. I've heard of them. I work in the finance, and when you mentioned, Altria, which is actually Philip Morris owns them, and they own Skoal, the dipping, and also Copenhagen. They bought 25%, they bought 35% for $12 billion of this company. So huge amounts of money because of the ability to grow this market share. So I knew the name, the Juul, but I never saw one. And my wife tells me now on a daily basis, the kids are literally doing that. One has it because they, a brother, they got it online, or they have it. And they're going back and forth between the men's room and the boys' room, and they're literally passing it in the hallway and smoking in there. And like I said, literally maybe 60 days ago, I didn't know it was that popular. And now, the principal has a desk drawer, and, the parents call up and say, because they're about $100, right, each? How much are they, 50?
So
I think they're 50.
device itself that got
Is it
passed
50?
around is about $40 to $40 just for the device. And then you can buy a 4-pack of pods for, the 4-pack is about $20. But once you get your device, or in many cases, as you said, kids are sharing them, so not everybody needs to buy the $40 device. That 4-pack of pods, which equals the nicotine value of 4 packs of cigarettes, it's only $20, makes it much less expensive than cigarettes. A pack of Marlboros is over $10. So 4 packs of Marlboros would be more than $40, and that's only $20. So, and then there are some knockoff products that are less expensive. And then, as I think DJ alluded to, the fact that maybe he didn't, I might have heard this in another meeting, but you can actually empty those pods out and put something else in it, which we know is done on occasion. And if you're adding something else to it other than a liquid that has nicotine in it, then it would probably be liquid THC. And then when the industry caught on that kids were doing that, and you can download a YouTube video to find out how to do it, but when the industry found out that kids were doing that, then they made empty pods. So you can actually buy empty pods that are Juul compatible, and then you can put any liquid in it you want, and probably the liquid that you would put in it is THC.
Yep.
And unfortunately, neither of these products smell like marijuana, the marijuana that we might be used to. If you're burning the flower, it smells.
That side of the council's used to
We
it,
can,
not this
that,
side.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that side.
That, right. You know, but with these, when you get that little bit of vapor, it might smell like mint or mango or whatever, but it doesn't smell like weed, so you won't know that a kid is actually using THC in school. So that's an added problem to all of this. So we have the nicotine, the addiction, the fact that kids are using it in school, they're having withdrawal symptoms, they're inattentive, you know, a whole lot of issues, hard to quit. And then on top of that, now these products can be used for THC.
Yeah, I can just tell, you know, obviously, they know they're experts, but my wife was saying, you know, they're actually doing it in class. The teacher will turn around because there's no smoke. They're actually doing it in class and then hiding it, and they're making them empty their pockets. And as was alluded to, you charge it through, when they mention the computer, it's a USB port. So they plug it into their iPhone charger. They can charge it that way. So it is developed for the kids that are, you know, with this type of social media and all that. So unfortunately, it is in the middle schools. It's not just the high school where I think, you know, the kind of active, you know, doing that type of stuff, like you said, smoking in the boys' room. But now, my wife said it was somebody in the 5th grade. They're passing it around the other day. So unfortunately, we're probably a little too late, but whatever the council can do from the perspective of the Board of Health or from the state level, we're more than happy to support that. And I know some schools have bought those. It looks like a smoke detector, and it can catch and I know they're expensive, but it might be worth something we can look in down the road. So I appreciate you coming out, and the sponsor, and also the Board of Health and everybody from the state. Thank you so much.
I do just want to mention one thing that you remind me to say this. One of the difficulties that we have is that, you know, we all know cigarette smokers, and they count how much smoking they do by the stick. So it's half a pack, 3 a day. And that's not true for this. This is very different animal, so it's very difficult to figure out. Even for a smoker to quit cigarettes and go to a e-cigarette, it's very difficult to figure out if they actually are increasing their nicotine addiction or not, because this is something that you can just take a hit off 3 times during a classroom hour, or you run to the men's room in your office and do it really quickly, and you can keep your nicotine addiction going much higher than you would if you were smoking regular cigarettes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I know there's been such great effort to, you know, reduce tobacco smoking, and I mean, it's been fantastic, and it's unfortunate to see this. I know initially some of the vaping products were sort of sold as like an alternative to tobacco. So what do we know about that now? Is that really practical, or I had heard that, you know, what happens is kids will get addicted to nicotine and then they switch to cigarettes. Is that something we're seeing, or we don't really know, or what?
There is a higher propensity for people who start off vaping to then go on to conventional cigarettes. And I think a lot of times what probably happens is that they're out somewhere and their pod runs out, so they bum a cigarette. That would be the next logical way to solve your nicotine addiction. As a cessation device, none of them are FDA approved as a cessation device. None have sought to get approval, but you know, some do. Some people have quit using these. It probably has about the same cessation success rate as any of the approved gum patch that other people use. So, you know, I will admit that if you went to your doctor and you smoked cigarettes for 4 decades and you said, I'm switching to Juul or another e-cigarette, they'd probably be like, well, it's better. You're 70, you know, good. So it is probably, it doesn't have as much carcinogens, but to say that, you know, that it's better than a cigarette is starting at a very low level.
So, but they're definitely not certified to be cessation devices.
No, they are not.
And so
I want to add one more thing to that. There's one other issue to that as well, is that these pods themselves come with milligrams of nicotine in them. And if you're going to quit smoking, you don't want to start at 25 milligrams. Most people go into these stores and the store clerks aren't asking what they're using it for. So they'll gauge you, and they might give you 15 milligrams, and really all you need is 4 because you're trying to cut back. But now you're starting at 15, and if you're already addicted, you might feel a little bit of cessation going on, but you're not going to turn the tide at 15 milligrams. You want to be under 10. And that was the idea they were pushing at first to get it into the market, that these were measurable amounts and that you could use them to wean yourself. I don't know if any of you have seen that advertising lately, because I haven't, but that was what they used to enter the market, and it's anything but true now.
Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you very much. As you know, I was the tobacco Nazi for a while, before Maureen. So now that has really changed a lot of the things. And I think one of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, things might have changed a little bit, that it's not even taxed as tobacco. And so as they add on tobacco taxes, which is why it's making cigarettes so high, maybe we really need to start looking at this, that if we started taxing not just these kind of products, but other tobacco products, that if you go into the store, when you look around as an adult, you would know they were tobacco products. They have dissolvables. They look like the little mint strips go under someone's tongue. Some things look like a Tic Tac. Even when we did some work with some parents and showed them some of the things, they were like, and they're usually low, they don't even know. They don't even know that they're tobacco products. So I do think that one of the things that, I don't know if as a city, but as a state, we need to be looking at actually taxing that and then sending that money back into maybe support or cessation or some of the other programs that's going to help some people to do those things. So it was just more of a comment, because I know it's a lot of work doing some things. The other problem is when in some of these stores, the people that are working the store, they don't know it's a tobacco product. So they're not selling to those that are over 21, not checking for an ID, because they didn't know we've done compliance checks before, and they were surprised, and they were just selling the product. It looked like it was in the cold storage thing in the back, and sold it. So, there's kind of multiple problems here, but I think, having the multiple pronged approach is a good one. And I think part of the things is really educating parents on what they look like, and so when their kids are coming home with those things, it's actually very important to notice.
Sure. Just a primer on taxation. A pack of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes has a $3.51 tax on it, and that brings in millions of dollars a week, and that goes to the state coffers. We are one of the highest tax states in the country. Next down, cigars. Malden itself has a minimum pricing for cigars that in our own health regulations, so that keeps away the 39-cent grape cigar. It makes it at least $2.50, and it makes it a little more difficult for a kid to get. And this year, there is a bill to do taxation on e-cigarettes. It's a complicated taxation because the products are also different compared to a pack of cigarettes. But there is not only a bill to do so, but it was part of the governor's budget to do an e-cigarette tax. So we are hopeful that this will be the year that there'll be a taxation in addition to the sales tax on e-cigarette hardware and the liquids.
And if I could speak to that for 1 second. If that doesn't go through, the tobacco money will not be with us next year. So Maureen will not be funded next year. So I will be putting something in the budget this year. We will be a regional approach, but our sister cities, Melrose, Medford, Wakefield, Stoneham, and Malden, we are going to work our level best to fund Maureen for at least another year because of this issue. And hopefully that cigarette tax, the e-cigarette tax, will rotate, get that once the revenue comes in, it will be funneled back into the cessation programs.
Anybody else? I think it's my turn.
Thank you.
I just want to make a couple of comments. So I'm probably one of the only councilors up here that have teenagers, 17 and almost 20, and I have been fully aware of these jewels for the past couple of years. My son's principal sent home an email a couple of years ago, diaphragm, broke out each piece individually. If you see this, when I first saw a few of the kids have them, they almost look like USB ports. So you would think it was just a stick that they're saving their homework on. If parents aren't aware, then they really have no idea what's going on. But I guess my question is, in the schools, a lot of these kids, like my son's friends, I have friends' kids, they're finding them in their bedrooms, and these kids do not think these things have nicotine in them. They think that they are literally smoking water. That's it. They're doing them for smoke tricks and Instagram, and it really is amazing. I have a close friend who's like, you know, I found one in my daughter's room, and I don't know what to do. She's telling me it's fine, it's nothing, it's no big deal. She's like, I'm fighting with her. It's crazy. I, for one, think that the investment for those detectives would be well worth it. I saw on the news maybe a month or so ago that the town of Georgetown installed them, and it's money well spent as far as I'm concerned, because we don't have the research to see the effects of this product in 10 to 15 years because it's so new that I'm afraid for these kids. I took the kids to a physical, and the doctor actually told us that smoking a cigarette was better than smoking one of these Juuls. And I think it's because, from listening to you tonight, they don't really know what's in these things. And they know more of what's in a cigarette as they do these Juuls with the metals and the carcinogens. Like, I really think that we need to focus on doing anything and everything that we can, because these kids really are unaware. My son plays hockey in high school, and last year, beginning of the year, senior year, one of his friends, 5-game suspension, MIAA. You get caught with one of these things, you're not playing high school sports. And it's funny to hear that it's not considered nicotine, but they're treating it like nicotine in every avenue that exists. So I really think that we need to get out there and really educate these kids, because they really don't know what they're putting in their body.
True. If parents want to educate themselves and they want to have a conversation with their kids about it, just ask the kids to turn the Juul over or whatever device they're using, and just watch how long it takes before they're asking for it back. And then delay that and see how they ask for it. And delay that and see how they ask for it. They'll very quickly learn their kids aren't just enjoying the flavor of it all. There's an underlying nicotine issue there, and it needs to be addressed. We've had a 18-year-old graduate, a high school graduate, who went to a vape store, got 25 milligrams right off the bat, and was smoking it daily, probably 4 or 5 pods a day. He was obviously addicted. The recovery coach, Paul Hammersley, took this gentleman in, and the only thing we could think of to service this young man, because there are no cessation programs, was to have his parents take him up to the emergency room, because he was having physical withdrawal. He was physically ill. He was sweating, he was vomiting, he was not in great shape. The only resolve for that is the nicotine patch. So they reduced him from 25 milligrams. That's how we found out how much he was taking or ingesting. And they lowered him down to 10. And he stayed with Paul for a couple of weeks because he needed counseling. And now he's not being counseled anymore, and he's down to a lower level patch. And soon he'll be back to non-smoking. But here's an 18-year-old man going out to make decisions for himself, and he's being sidewhacked by the marketing. And they learn it in school or online, and they come to believe it because it is fun, it is cool.
They have Instagram pages.
Yeah.
To target these kids to liking this Instagram page to try to get them to buy their products. It really is amazing. And I don't see them, and I'm on Instagram, so it's like they zone in to a specific age group of these kids, and it really is. As a mother, it's heartbreaking, because I thought that the whole cigarette thing was, you know, a fad that was long gone, and I was never gonna have to deal with something like that with my kids. And I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting there telling them, if you're doing this, you better think twice. Like, it really is something that we need to focus a lot more attention on, because it breaks my heart to hear that a 10-year-old in middle school is smoking nicotine in class. So I hope that we can, you know, whatever it is that you need, I would hope that we could all support anything.
Well, you all know I'll be back for that part. But the Board
Absolutely.
of Health meeting and the amendments proposed are important. We're having a hearing as well on the same night for another store that was selling things they weren't supposed to be selling. We suspended a store 2 months ago for selling to minors. So that was 7 days, and they thought they would never come back. I think the next hearing we have will wake up a lot of people as well. This vape issue is bigger than just vape or nicotine, and people need to stop being so naive about it. If smoking cigarettes in the 20s was, a doctor says, here, smoke these, it'll settle your nerves, we all know that doesn't work. And you know it's not good for you. That's not a healthy way to settle your nerves. Nicotine today is probably more refined than it ever was, and probably more potent than it ever was, because they've raised these plants to be more potent so they don't have to grow as many. So think about it. They're modifying the plant to gain addiction. And if parents think that's cute or that, hey, it's a phase, they're wrong. Cigarettes, tobacco, and nicotine are all the same thing. And you're going to have the end result.
I agree. We're worrying about carcinogens in the artificial turf at Roosevelt Park. I think we need to focus those carcinogens on things like this more than that. So Debbie DiMaria, Councilor DiMaria, sorry.
Thank you, Counselor. You had alluded to a percentage, milligrams. Is that in this? So there's, when someone goes to buy it, they're bought by milligrams of?
Juul actually comes in 5% dosage only. But the,
Actually, because this changes so fast, and I'm in the stores every
Microphone, Maureen.
This all changes so fast, and I'm in the stores, practically daily, and DJ isn't in his role. And I can inform you right now that Juul has come out with a new product. So in addition to the 5% version, they also have a 3% version. And I believe that's so that they can say, no, we do have a product so you can wean yourself down. You can go from 5% to 3%. Also what they did, their regular pod packs were all 4 pod packs until very, very recently. And I've just found 2 pod packs. They look the same size, but it's half the money. And when you price something lower, you can get more kids to buy it. So I think that's another scheme of theirs. So, but it really does change that fast. So the 3% is available. Most that you will see will be 5%. So the nicotine level in that is 5%.
And you said this particular unit is about $40, and then this is like at the filler of this?
That's right. It comes with.
So how much are these?
So that if you buy it in a 4-pack, it's about $20. So it's $5 per pod, and each pod is equal to a pack of cigarettes. The nicotine value is equal to a pack of cigarettes.
now I should say, if you go into a vape shop, and we have 5 here in Malden, you could vary the nicotine strength. Well, Juul has now 2 versions. There's a bunch of different variations.
Does it go up
that can happen.
higher?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, next order of business.
Yeah, DJ, do you want this? Because I don't want it.
Yep.
Approval of the minutes for March 5th, 2019. Want to do them individually?
No, do them all together.
Approval of the minutes for March 19, 2019. Approval of the minutes for March 26, 2019.
As amended.
March 19, 2019. Approval as amended by striking paper 5116.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to approve the minutes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. No, that's okay. Councilor Murphy.
Actually going to make that motion.
Oh, okay,
I think that someone has to make it.
perfect.
And it hadn't been made.
Okay.
So I would like to make the motion.
Okay, sure. On Councilor Murphy's motion to approve the minutes, all those in favor? Oh, as amended.
To approve the minutes of March 19 by striking paper 5116. That's my motion. I just need a second on that.
Sorry.
Second, thank you, okay.
I apologize. I thought when we discussed, we were just going to say as amended, so I apologize for not turning your light on.
I'm not sure.
No,
it could
that's
be done
fine.
that way, so.
On Councilor Murphy's motion to approve the minutes, seconded by Councilor Kamel. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next order of business.
Mayor's reappointment of Dino Summers, 30 Gilbert Street, Malden, Mass. as an associate member of the planning board. Oh, I'm sorry.
On Councilor Crow's motion to refer the appointment to Personnel and Appointments, all those in favor? All those opposed? The appointment has been referred. Next order of business.
We have a bunch of licenses. Outdoor Parking, K-Court Realty LLC, 17 Green Street, Malden. Outdoor Parking, SL Realty Holdings LLC, 11 Charles Street, Malden. Outdoor Parking, TJ Automotive, 315 Pleasant Street, Malden. A Fortune Teller, Angie Marks, 495 Broadway, Malden. Pool Table, Loyal Order of the Moose, 562 Broadway, Malden, 2 tables, renewal. Pool Table Club 24, Inc., 787 Salem Street, Malden, 2 tables, a renewal. A Lodging House, Robert H. LaGuardia, 115 Clinton Street, Malden, that's new. Secondhand dealer, AM Design, Jewel, 664 Salem Street, Malden. Secondhand dealer and pawnbroker, Art Call Jewelers, 56 Pleasant Street, renewal. Secondhand dealer, Golden Diamonds, etc., 2529 Pleasant Street, renewal.
On Councilor Murphy's motion to refer to license, all those in favor? All those opposed? The petitions have been referred. Next order of business.
We have a order, be it ordained that section 1.2 of the revised ordinance of 1991 be amended by striking in their entirety the second, third, and fourth paragraphs. Councilor O'Malley.
So, since Councilor O'Malley's not here, I also co-sponsored this paper with the newly voted cannabis ordinance. We need to do a little housekeeping on some previous ordinances, so I ask that this paper get referred to Rules and Ordinance for further discussion. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to refer to Rules and Ordinance, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter is referred. Next order of business.
Paper 141 of 19, be it hereby ordained that section 2.31 of the revised ordinance of 1991 be amended by adding the following provisions. The provisions of this ordinance shall not apply to city employees' ability to serve on boards or commissions. Councilor Matheson.
You good? Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Council President. This came up a couple weeks ago. We had passed last year an ordinance that prohibited non-residents of Malden from serving on boards and commissions, and we had received an appointment from the mayor of someone that, for the new Cannabis Commission, that did not have a Malden residence. I understand that some city councilors believe that city employees were exempt. This will actually codify that so that we're in compliance with our ordinances. I think that's important. So I'm going to refer this to Rules and Ordinance Committee for further discussion. I believe that the section might need to, I think it implicates 2.35, so we'll take that discussion up in ordinance. Thank you.
On Councilor Matheson's motion to refer this paper to Rules and Ordinance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The paper has been referred. Next order of business.
These are claims. Jeffrey Cusino of 8 Monroe Street, Somerville, and Kathleen Val-Orsino, 60 Ashland Street, Malden, the claims.
On Councilor Kamel's motion to refer the claims to finance, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The claims have been referred. Next order of business.
That's all I have.
Docket is clear. Personal privilege? Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I just want to thank Councilor Crow and the High Rock Church and members of the Alpha Sigma fraternity and sorority of Boston University for the great cleanup that we did this past weekend. We were actually able to cover a lot of turf in Ward 1 and actually popped over to Salemwood School to do some stuff over there. So, so it was a great thing. And in your packets, there's an updated list of cleanups that are coming up. So looking forward, I'm getting approached by more civic groups to help out. So looking forward to do more cleanups as we're coming up. So thank you very much. Bye.
I'm good. Thank you, Councilor Winslow. Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, just to dovetail off that, we will have our Ward 6 cleanup on May 11th between 10 a.m. and noon. So we'll be working, we're going to be gathering some volunteers to go down to Maplewood Square. If we have enough volunteer turnout, we'll have a group break off and cover Trafton Park. And what we'll also do is we're going to be asking all the residents to sweep their sidewalk out into the street by 10 a.m. so that the street sweep, we're coordinated with the DPW to come and clean that up. So we'll coordinate that street sweeping with them. After you've swept the sidewalks clean into the street, the street sweepers will come and clean that all up, and I think that's going to be common for other wards, but just wanted to get it in there so my constituents knew. May 11th from 10 a.m. to noon, and to sweep the sidewalks off before 10. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, on behalf of the chair, I just wanted to take a moment to let you know why we're all wearing blue this evening. Today is April 2nd. It is World National Autism Awareness Day, and it's a day that is to increase the understanding and acceptance of a condition that affects many people in our community. And I thought, since buildings and landmarks and people across America were wearing blue, that I thought that it would be a great idea for our council to come tonight to dress in blue to. And yes, April is Autism Awareness Month, so today is the day, but the whole month of April is Autism Awareness Month. And I appreciate you all wearing your blue this evening. It was last minute, so I appreciate everybody going home and changing into their blue for autism community. Councilor Crowe.
Sorry, I was a little late on the button, apparently. But I just wanted to remind anybody that the City Council is actively soliciting a Malden resident to serve on the Cannabis Licensing and Enforcement Commission. So the applications, it's just a letter of interest in a resume, can be sent to Lisa Cagno, our Clerk of Committees, at lcagno@cityofmalden.org, or you can look it up, and it is going out everywhere, so it should be on social media and every place else. All the letters are due back by, in 2 weeks, the Wednesday, April 17th. So get them in if you're interested in serving on that commission. Thank you.
Thank you. And I see no other lights. Do we have a motion to adjourn? On Councilor Matheson's motion to adjourn, all those in favor? All those opposed? Meeting has been adjourned.